Welcome back to Tao of the Day, everybody. This is Martin John, and this is your uh, every weekday in the morning at some point, usually between 7 and 10 a.m., sometimes Central Time. I am coming on and reading the Tao for you. What I ask of you is just come on, pick a number between 1 and 81, and join me for Tao of the Day. Will you pick a number? I'll read that Tao chapter with you, and we'll course through it. We'll cover it at first as an overview, and then we'll go through it one on one, line by line with you and I. How's it going, Julie? It's always nice to see you. If you wanna chime in and get a Tao for your day, I'd love to have you. So yeah, today is a another day for the Tao. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you want to share, come on and give it to me. I'm going to go ahead and pick number 66 for myself. 66. All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. What do we got? Julie's gonna join me. Okay, we're gonna hold on to 66, and we're gonna take a number from Julie. Julie, how are you doing today?
You. I'm in the middle of picking up all my grandchildren, and I was just sharing with them you, and my granddaughter Millie said she'd like number 66 as well. So how's that?
Oh well, look at that. Is that Millie?
Millie, yeah.
Millie, how are you doing? Welcome to Tao of the Day. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you guys are joining me. Okay, so let's talk about 66. All streams flow to the sea because they are lower, because the sea, is lower than they are, the streams. Humility gives it its power. If you want to govern the people, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, so if you want to be the leader in your grade, you must learn how to follow them. The master is above the people, and no one feels oppressed. She goes ahead of the people, and no one feels manipulated. The whole world is granted to her because she competes with no one. No one can compete with her.
How cool is that? Hey, she's listening. Millie's listening.
Okay, good. All right. So Millie, do you have any thoughts about that at
Any
all?
thoughts? No, she's absolutely mesmerized, is what I'd say.
Okay. Well, maybe she's also like sometimes the Tao can get confusing. So ask her if she's confused at all.
Are you confused? Hello. She says she doesn't know. She's
Doesn't
just
know.
taking. She's just
Taking it
taking.
in. Okay, so
Yes.
this is the next part of what we do. At first, I get like a general idea of what you're thinking. And what I like about this, and I'll give you my general thoughts, is that, you know, so many times when we want to be a leader, we want to force ourselves upon the people we want to lead. We want to convince them or cajole them into thinking that we are their leader. But
Yeah.
the true leader sits back and kind of guides more than forcefully leads. They use the power within them. And here in this last line, because she competes with no one, no one can compete with her. And Millie, I want you to think a little bit about this idea that, like, when you compete with someone and they compete with you, all of a sudden you're two forces pushing against each other and no one's willing to give.
Yeah.
But when you're willing to not compete and just be yourself, then you can flow and actually kind of like sidestep their attacks and sidestep their competing. There's no way they can compete with you unless you agree to compete with them.
I'm
So those
getting
are
it.
some of my initial thoughts. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to read this through line by line, and if you have any ideas, whether Julie or Millie or anybody in the car, like I would love to hear what you have to say. So,
Millie is very sporty. So
oh,
that is very helpful to her because her favourite thing at the moment, her favourite sport is rugby.
oh,
And that is so good for her. So good. That
and I
is
bet, I bet,
absolutely.
I bet you're a competitive. I bet you're competitive out there too.
She likes to achieve. She likes to, it's not about being competitive. She
Mm,
likes to do her very best. She likes to do her best. It's not about, it's exactly what you said. It's not about leading, it's by doing what you do.
yes.
That's it. Yeah. And that's what was ringing, I think, with you, wasn't it, Millie? Yeah.
So,
Carry on.
so here we have this first section where it says, all streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. This idea of not trying to be above anybody else, not trying to be better than anybody else, not trying to stamp your will upon someone else. You are the sea, and all streams will flow to you when you can be be humble, be full of humility. Like be like, yes, I am this style, or I am this good at rugby, but there's always things I can learn. And there will be a point where I will age and I will have to learn how to play differently. Like if you watch sport and if you watch really great athletes get older, their style of play changes.
Mm-hmm.
And if
It
it
does.
doesn't, if it doesn't change, you'll often see them having a real tumultuous or really difficult mentally the rest of their career. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow. I mean, I'm sure you do a little bit of football. And if you guys follow I'm Spanish, so I watched the career of Fernando Torres, and he was unable to adjust his style of play as he got older and less effective at being like the young sprinty powerhouse. And
Yeah.
he really had a real difficult time, and he went from club to club to club trying to figure out like how can he be Fernando Torres again. And it was just like, no, you have to let that idea of who you were go. And
And
that's how you can
adapt.
that yeah,
Yeah.
you need to adapt. You need to be humble. You can't stand on that which you have. The pride you have today for what you do on the field is not necessarily going to be the pride that you're going to have in 10 years. And so being able to be humble and to be full of humility and know that rugby's a hard game, and you're
Yeah.
definitely not going to be able to play it for the rest of your life at the level of which maybe you're playing today, or maybe you'll be playing in 3 or 4 years or 5 years. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
Yeah.
you know, so your body has limits, and to be humble with that and to be full of humility about what you can do is it like that allows others to flow to you, and that way you can become more of a leader. Right, when you see great leaders, they're not necessarily the best on the field, but
They just learn very quickly and adapt and flow and
right, and they
change
can
and change. Yeah.
and they can observe. They can observe, and they can maybe just help inspire those around them. And yet
Yeah.
all of the streams are flowing to them, and the sea doesn't call them. The streams naturally flow to the sea. And you, Millie, are the sea.
You are the sea. That is lovely. Thank you so much.
Well, this next
Absolutely.
section.
She's very, 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 she's very listening, and yeah, that's great.
So if you want to govern the people, and all that means, Millie, is that like if you want to be able to help and aid the people, govern the people really just means like the government is supposed to be here to help us. It's changed a lot over the years, and it's like trust and all those things have lost. But if you want to help the people, you must place yourself below them. If you
Yeah.
want to lead the people, you must learn how to follow them.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Anything? I don't know. She says she's definitely soaking it in, though. That's really, really, yeah. It's given her food for thought, hasn't it, about how things work. It's not always that you lead with an iron rod, and you are bossy and rigid. because people tend not to really want to do that. Most people and situations don't want to be told what to do. What
That's right.
they want is they want to be able to use their free will. And you, by placing yourself in a lower, sort of more humble place, they will naturally flow to you. That's what the guy is saying. Yes, Martin, John, you have spoken.
So, Millie, have you ever had teachers or coaches, or people who you didn't want to perform for?
Anybody? No, she's pretty malleable.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
there
that's
anyone whose
beautiful. And I
teaching
think
method isn't, anyone who kind of rubs you up the wrong way a little bit? No, no, you're lucky, very lucky. I didn't have
very
that at
lucky.
school.
Yeah. And maybe that's also because you. Many,
Yeah,
many people don't necessarily know themselves and know like that they want to not compete with others, but to do good for themselves, you know?
yeah,
And so a lot of times when it's just like, oh, school is just a task, it's not necessarily a place that of any consequence. I can be here and I can learn from anybody. And if you want to rule me in this way of like I have to learn what you want me to learn, maybe you're more adaptable, you're more malleable. You can just be like, sure, whatever you want, just to get out of here so I can go on the rugby pitch, right? Like I can go do my thing just to
yeah,
get you off my back. I
yeah,
mean, maybe if it's even family. Sometimes, sometimes I know for me, like, certain grades and certain things were really important to those around me, and so it was always difficult for me because I couldn't necessarily achieve that, or I didn't want to, at least. So,
yeah.
so
Yeah, it
this
depends
last
on what
section,
calls out to you, doesn't it? It's what
yeah.
sits well with you that you tend to excel with.
And Millie, are you the oldest of your siblings?
She's the middle child.
The middle child.
How
Oh,
how blessed is she?
I'm a middle child, dear. It's
Yeah.
it and you seem like you're doing just fine with that position. I was not. So I
Oh,
commend you, my dear.
she's great. She's a great middle child. She's very kind, and she's just
Yes.
really chilled out.
We are we
You
are
know.
we are chill, kind people, but sometimes there can be deep sadness within us because sometimes our older siblings just tend to have one up on us all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, the oldest one's sitting in here as well. Yeah, she'll get that.
Yep.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so this wraps up with the master is above the people and no one feels oppressed. If you're the best on the rugby field, if you're the best on the pitch, you're the best, absolutely the best. But
yeah,
everybody feels they're under you, then you're not a team.
yeah. Millie's about the team, aren't you? You're about the
Yeah.
team. Yeah, she is, which is great. Yeah.
She goes ahead of the people so no one feels manipulated. Like, right? Like you don't want to do anything. You don't want to be a jerk to your teammates, but you want to inspire them to do their best.
Yeah,
And I think that's what this means when it says she goes ahead of the people and no one feels manipulated, right? She doesn't have to like push him from behind. She doesn't have to go, 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 go. She can just go ahead and all of a sudden everyone follows her because she knows that she's inspiring them.
yeah, yeah. She does. She tries her very best and gives the best of herself as example, and that's how the team come together, isn't it? They do,
Yeah.
which is
And
very
then
good.
and then
It shocked me.
and then it says the whole world is grateful to her. I,
Yeah,
I hope you feel that in your team and in your family and in the people around you, that you realize that people are grateful that you're around. Because, being a middle child can feel lonely sometimes.
mm.
And it can feel like nobody appreciates, because we're not the first. And,
We're
we have
not
to
the last.
establish ourselves as being very different from the firstborn. Right? Like you and your sister or brother or whatever, the firstborn is are probably very different in the way you approach things.
Yes.
And
He's
and
nodding to that.
that's because your firstborn is so good at doing what they do. You need to establish something else. You need to establish yourself in a different way. You need an identity. And Millie, this is who you are. And the whole world is grateful for you. And I want you to hold that in your heart forever,
Yes, I
because we
agree.
are so grateful.
I agree. I think she's absolutely amazing. I do. I think she's amazing. I think
And
they're
then,
all amazing in their way, but I
yes.
want to. That is so nice to underline that for her because, yeah, she is pretty amazing.
And then this is where the end comes in, because she competes with no one. No one can compete with her. And I bet when it comes to direct competition, maybe with your siblings and with your teammates and with other teams and things, I bet you shy away from openly competing outwardly.
Yeah,
And
she said,
and
yeah,
and but maybe there's a lot of competitive play within you where it's
yeah,
playful.
yeah. She is. She
Julie,
aspires.
Julie, Millie, thank you guys so much for joining me. That's the Tao. And Julie, make sure you pass the Tao Te Ching links down to Millie and anybody that is interested. And also, I haven't seen any messages from you, Julie. So if you were interested in doing a workshop with me, reach out. I didn't see anything, and that's cool. But I do want to make sure that we communicate on that if that's something that you're interested in. Millie, thank you so much once again for joining Tao of the Day. I appreciate that. Wisdom is awesome. You should probably get on. I'm sure you have lots to talk about. So yeah, this is Tao of the Day. My number was 66. Millie's number was 66, and we are here talking Tao of the Day. I'll pick another number if nobody else wants to come on, because we were so focused on that one for Millie, and I think that was beautiful because it fit really well. Um, so yeah, I will just cut that in half, and we'll pick 33 for mine. Um, 33. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. This idea of death in the Tao is so deep. And I want you guys that are listening to understand that death isn't necessarily dying to the world, right? It is, although it's not dying in your body necessarily. Although that is the ultimate way that we experience death. We experience death all the time. When I was talking with Millie earlier, this idea that aging in sport is something that we have to embrace. And aging in sport, what that often means is we have to die as the person who was. And if we continue to want to be like we mentioned Fernando Torres, who's a Spanish, he was like on the front line of Liverpool for about 3 or 4 years, and if when he was young and had a very certain style, he never really changed his style of play, even though he lost a little speed, he got a little older. And when you get older, what happens is you start doubting yourself more. And so as you start doubting yourself, you have to recognize, well, how do I gain my confidence back? Well, you gain your confidence back by allowing yourself to grow as you are, not hold on to what you believe you are, what you remember you used to be when you were younger. Like when I was 19, I was able to do this. And now now it takes more energy for me to recuperate from a night out or doing something like that. So this idea that embracing death with your whole heart, death to your identity, and death to your body ultimately, because your body is part of your identity too, because you are more than your body. You are the thing that inspires your body to move, that inspires your body to process the life that you're living. So knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. And the word intelligence does get brought up in the Tao quite a bit. Um, I'm looking for a couple versions, a couple intelligence. So here's another verse, number 18, that references intelligence. When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. So the body's intelligence. Um, and then it references what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. So there's another intelligence. So intelligence, once again, now in under these circumstances, in number 27, intelligence is referenced as you are going to you are going to no matter how intelligent you are, you're going to get lost. And so it says here in this 27 that intelligence is something that you will be able to lose. And then knowing others is intelligence. And then And then in number 70, we say, my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them. So through all of these different references to intelligence and intellect, we realize that intellect is a very specific thing, right? So knowing others is intelligence, or knowing others is knowing what they're going to do. All the people that write books, all the people that go out and say this is the way the world is, right? That's intelligence. But knowing yourself is true wisdom. Like we were talking to Millie, like she knows a part of herself. There's plenty about herself that she doesn't know yet. There's plenty about Julie that she doesn't know yet. There's plenty about me that I don't know yet. you know there's always more. But when we can be quiet and know ourselves, that's true wisdom. And in knowing ourselves, we'll be able to communicate with others much easily, a lot easier than we can if we just know who they are. Because if we know who they are, then we're not being humble. Then we're just assuming we understand who this person is. And the thing is, when we can approach every relationship, when we can approach every person from just an openness of, well, I know who I am. Who is this person I am talking to now? Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. So mastering others here is about, governing. It's about, like, even to your children. Do you look to your children or grandchildren as things that need to be mastered? Do you think that, like, getting, the iron rod on them? Do you think punishing them? Do you think telling them that they're not good enough? Like, making sure that they follow you and your ideas. This to me leads into all my recovery work, because I so talk about living under the influence. Are you someone who wants others to live under your influence? Or are you someone who is living under the influence of others? And those aren't the only two, right? Those aren't the only two options. You can just live as you are, know yourself without having to master others, because mastering others is strength. Good for you. I'm really happy you got that strength. But mastering yourself is true power. And strength and force will always collapse in the face of power eventually. I mean, if we look at World War II, that was force, that was strength. Eventually, it succumbed to the power. Just like right now, the United States is, really kind of positioned itself for a while there on strength and outward force, right? But an inner power will overcome the direction that the United States is or has been going. And I'm not saying that any one president or person or whatever. There's just an idea, the idea of forcing people to do things, the idea, and whether like this isn't political in any way, but yeah, I just want to make sure that we understand the difference between force, strength, intelligence, and the things of wisdom and power. Wisdom and power will always. So if you ever read the book Force versus Power, Power versus Force, I forget the guy's name who wrote it, but we talk a lot about the differences between what strength is or what force is, and what power is. True power within yourself, and that's knowing who you are. Okay, off of that soapbox, moving on to the next section. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. And I also think that we should say, if you realize that you are enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. I pause there because of this. You will endure forever. It makes me want to just look up the word endure really quick, because I think there might be something in that we can really, to carry on through despite hardship, undergo or suffer, to put up with, to tolerate, to continue in existence, to last. Okay, so first off, we all know. Somebody, Mary Kay. Um, so yes, Mary Kay is going to join us, and I'm going to come back to this as I continue to mull over this. Mary, how are you?
Good morning. I'm great. I was in the middle of doing a manicure, which I haven't done in ages.
Oh, well, that is
And
beautiful.
you came on, and I'm listening, and you're talking about your name. I'm sorry, Martin,
Martin John.
Martin John, um, and you were talking about death. And I'm going to start from way, way back. I'm a historian. Uh, just to give you a briefing, I have dropped out of law school. I have dropped out of arts. I have dropped out of history, and which was an amazing thing. And I'm also a former gymnast, and I'm going to be 61 years old, and I am grateful. And life is long. By saying that, um, yes, let me just go back hundreds of years. Uh,
We're going way back.
yeah, yeah,
so let
Roman
me.
Empire. Um, um, in the words of Maximus Marcus Aurelius,
Aurelius.
uh, one of his sayings is that if you feel that you're dead, you have nothing to fear.
Right.
It may not be the exact words, because I also have a little hangover from last night. So I grew up, even prior to reading as a child, uh, you you don't fear. Every time someone told me don't do this, I've done it. And yes, I have put myself in position where it was dangerous. But I enjoyed the thrill. As you get older, as you age, yes, there are periods that you feel as you're gonna be dead, and it's gonna be your final day. But if you have the courage, and if you have the belief, and if you do have that passion, you will achieve even more. I don't know, I don't want to compliment myself in any way. I don't know what I could be achieving in the next month.
Right.
I,
So let me just kind of like set the stage really quick here. We were talking, to embrace death with your whole heart, you will
Yes.
endure forever. Right. So that's what we're referencing in the Tao 33. Do you have a number between 1 and 81 that you would like to explore? So this is Tao of the Day. What I do is I invite people up to pick a number between 1 and 81, and we read
Okay.
a chapter of
I'm
the Tao.
learning. I'm learning.
Yeah, I know.
How about 11?
11. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and look at 11. It's a beautiful verse. This is what we're going to be talking about now. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move.
Excuse me, can you start that over again?
Yep.
Okay.
We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. So what are your thoughts?
Wow. It's never, I gotta research Tao.
Yeah, I can send you a link. You shoot me a message on Instagram and I can send you a link
Hold on,
to.
let me just, okay. I'm learning this app. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, welcome
Let me,
to Wisdom. Yes, I'm Martin John. I work with. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. I got 21 years clean and sober, and weekdays I cover the Tao Te Ching, and I would be happy to send you a link to English translations of the Tao Te Ching. It's an ancient text that was written 600 BC by Lao
wow.
Tzu, and each one of these verses are meditations about. The canon of reason is how I translate the Tao Te Ching. It is the core of how to live a reasonable life.
I'll be honest, and you said sober. I come from an alcoholic background.
Yeah.
Very functional, extremely intelligent people, and I've become just like my father. And last night, actually for 2 weeks, almost every day, because I'm home, did it overdoing it. And this
Yeah.
morning I woke up, and my body's in pain.
Yep.
And I'm blaming it on arthritis, my gymnastics. I was a former gymnast,
Yeah.
as I said before. Um, and I said, today I got to make a decision. First of all, it's a lot of money being spent because I buy the best. And
Yeah, we buy the best, so we don't have to admit we have a problem because we're like,
yeah,
well, I don't have a problem because I'm buying the best. That's what I did too.
but yes, there is a problem. Yes, I do have a problem. And that is my weakness.
So, yes, those are things that, that may need to get addressed. I mean, even when you mentioned I'm a little hungover after last night and laughed, I was like, yeah, nothing funny about that. In my
No,
mind, I was like, nothing funny about that.
no, it's not.
Like, but I was like, I also, no judgment, like, love you, and I want you to be and do what you want to do, and if that means like continuing, or if that means changing, I support that. I train alcohol treatment counselors and clinicians, and I have a workshop coming up tomorrow, in the same workshop every Tuesday. Reach out to me on Instagram, and I would happily just get in touch with you, and we can chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back through this number 11, and we're going to talk a little bit about what this means. And I would love to have, like, even if any initial thoughts. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds what we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. What do you think about that?
Okay. One thing um, that really, really stood out is the wheel, the
Yeah.
spokes. So
Yeah.
everyone in your life, or you included, everyone that you encounter makes that wheel. it's a chain of thoughts. There's
It's a structure.
It's a structure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny. I'm a farmer's daughter, and my family's in construction and many other fields. Um, I'm really gonna think about that, but something about a house. Um,
We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it
yes,
livable.
you can have, and I had, and I walked away. And I'm glad I disinherited myself from the inheritance. So, and I see these beautiful homes, multi-million-dollar homes, my nephew's building. And and I know some of them are with happy people, joyous. And then in my life, I had the opportunity to I lived a privileged life, I must say. Uh, and you come home and nothing really mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really mattered. And yes, there was emptiness. And not loneliness, emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do is I would buy art. I was a form, as you know, as I stated, I was an artist. I would buy these antique pieces and I would love it and I would display everything. And people who came to my house would say, everything that Mary has is on the walls. And I used to say, that's right, everything is on the walls. But during that many decades, I had many robberies. And mainly right now, whatever is left is left. It's not much, but it's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good enough for me. My space is peaceful. My space is knowledgeable. I love my books. I love education. But I find myself that I don't read the way I used to. Maybe my concentration level, or maybe I don't learn that way. I learn by speaking. Learn by having conversations. Uh, Maybe that's why I dropped out of law, because I say this over and over again. I can't read 5,000 pages and understand a paragraph or a sentence. It has to be told to me. It has to be explained to me. I'm a detailed oriented person. By saying that, my final years, 6 years, I worked with a government attorney, judge, who was the best and the worst man you ever met, but we remained friends. He retired, and shortly after that, I left. But he explained to me a lot about emptiness, how you could fulfill yourself, how you can educate yourself. And he was able to see that I am very visual and vocal. And he told me I had senses that very few people have. And
So much of, since you've come on, it's really interesting, and like, I'm intrigued by a big aspect, and this number 11. So this number 11 talks so much about, like, the difference between being and non-being, the difference between the structure and that which is within the structure.
mm-hmm,
When we look at education, education is the structure. What you choose to do with that is your life.
mm-hmm,
The family is the structure. What you choose to do with that to affect your life is your life. Like, just like a pot that a clay pot, we shape it into something. It is the structure, and now we can move water around. We can affect others with our life. So much of what I've heard from you is structure. Your relationship with alcohol is structure. your relationship to your past and your gymnastics structure, your relationship to your learning, your books, your home, your art structure. Beyond that is Mary. And I have yet to meet Mary, right? I know the structures that Mary has built. I know the structures that she believes in. I know the structures that she embraces. And yet, I don't know anything about Mary. And even learning, even in how you learn, right? You learn visually. That's a structure. What do you learn? What have you learned? Who are you, Mary? And that's what I keep coming with. And at the end of this number 11, it says, we work with being. You work and you work and you work and you work with being.
Yes.
And yet non-being is what we use. And Mary, I haven't heard what you're using in your life. I've heard the work you've put in to gain the the whatever it is you're gaining in your life. I don't know what that is because I don't know who you are, but that's, I think this 11 is very, very significant for you.
It's
And like I said, I
because
would
311 is my birthday.
311, and we were covering 33 a second ago. So you are in the field, Mary. You are you are here with me, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much for coming on. I
Thank,
really appreciate you picking it.
thank
And Tao of the Day, come on, we'll continue
Tao
to
of the
explore.
day.
Yes, and again, shoot me a message on Instagram, and I will send you links to translations of the Tao so you can check it out. As I know, you know that would be probably something that you might be interested in doing, just because of the structures that you have in your life, and it might help open you a little bit to some new ideas. And I would love for you to join one of my workshops. Again, it's for drug and alcohol rehab counselors, but it is about them like dealing with their triggers, and we all have triggers. And Mary, love you so much. This is Tao of the Day. We're going to bring Mary on for a brief minute, and we'll wrap up with, we'll go back to 33.
I just wanted to say thank you, um, and after a few minutes of thinking, I realized that I do this out of boredom.
Yeah.
It's and I do it to alter my mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's what I would consider in my work a pacifier.
Pardon me?
I would consider this in my work a pacifier. Like all those things that like it helps pacify your mind
Yes.
because there's, yeah, I don't want to put any words in your mouth. There may be other pain, or there may be other sorts
It
of
shuts
things that
me
are,
out.
yeah, that are going on under the surface.
Yes.
And that's what we explore in my workshops, which is again why I'm reaching out and saying you might want to check this out. But like it just listening to all of this, like you can figure that all out. But thank you so much.
Thank
and and
you.
and and it's really beautiful that you can recognize that.
I've recognized it a long time ago. It's
Yeah.
not something that I do uh, morning to night. It's just
No. Yeah.
there are certain times that I need to alter my mind.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
and why I do this, I don't quite understand yet, but I will. I
That's
know,
right.
given the opportunity, I will.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's something that, like, again, I got 21 years clean and sober, and looking at those things that help me alter my state, or pacify me in the moment or whatever, that is the work. Like, you are so special. You are so beautiful. And there are places where you escape that, and where you pacify from that, and you are too important to do that too much.
thank you.
Mary, I love you. Thank you so
I love
much for
you too.
joining me again, and we'll definitely be in touch again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Let me look at 33 again and see if we got through everything. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mary, hope you're still listening. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. And that is 33. You will endure forever. You will be able to continue doing what you do. You will be able to be a young football star, right? And then be a middle aged football star because you are not trying to be the middle aged football star as a young football star. You will be able to change the way you approach things because you are a different person. You have allowed that young person to die to who you are today. And the work that you put in the world as someone who has been able to be present with yourself will be able to endure as well. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. I'm bringing Bella on to give us some final words because she won't pick a number. How you doing, Bella?
How are you, Martin? How are
I am
you?
well.
Good, good, good. I tell you what, those videos are so photogenic. You must give me the right light angles.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Thank you. Like, look, we 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 we, we need to be in touch.
We definitely do. I'm sneaking through. It's Martin. Well, as you're closing, I just heard 33, and I just wanted to use a quote, which is I've used in two rooms today, so there must be some meaning behind it,
Oh.
which I need to also delve into. And it's on my Instagram. You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness.
Mm. So that's interesting because now, like, the definition of story has to get shifted, right? It's not the story. Like, yeah, I don't like talk to me about that phrase.
Well, I think you either own your story, which you're saying, own who you are,
Yes.
because like any good story, I'm just thinking as I'm going along, and like any good story, as you turn the page, the story builds up on the previous page.
Yes.
So as you own your story, you own who you are. You own the essence, the storyline. So you can stay still in it. You don't have to change it. However, when you do stand outside of your story, which you've for me says you've lost your essence,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
Then what you have to do? You have to hustle to be part of somebody or other people's story. So I read it again. You either
Please.
walk inside your own story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for worthiness.
And this rings really true to me. As I kind of get comfortable with the quote. Because I get it, right? Like in some of my language, story is used differently. Like, oh, that's a story. That's not who you are, right? That's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a story. And so this is a little different, where it's like this: the story is who you are, and
Your
I
essence.
yes, your essence, like deep down, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that. Um, and I still recognize that I live under the influence of others in areas of my life that I don't want to because I want to get to know myself. But like the other day, I was with a friend of mine who I hang out with on every Saturday, and I said, oh, the soccer team that I watch, that I shout for on the odd occasion is playing a game today, but I don't know that I want to watch it. Da da da. And I was just dismissive, dismissive, dismissive. She was like, well, I'd love to watch it, and I was like, oh, and I got really happy and I was like, wait a minute, where did this happiness come from? Like I I didn't even recognize that I wanted to watch it that badly. But
Yes.
then when this person, and I was talking to someone last night, I think it was last night, and
Hmm.
she had told me, you are you're afraid of wanting, right? You're afraid of having this, like, of being rejected. You're afraid of, and so in order to not be rejected, you don't want.
Oh, oh.
You know,
So,
and that was,
mhm.
that rang really true.
Yeah, so you're going to keep on hustling for your worthiness, or see the
Oh.
magnificence that you are, that your Instagram reels show.
Yes, that is my goal is definitely to, because I know that my essence is phenomenal, amazing, and it's impressive, and I love it. And yet I I still haven't, I have yet to understand how, like, I've been turning from that for so long and living under the influence of others for so long that it's been difficult for me to embrace completely. And I've embraced it partially, of course, but yeah, so this quote is really beautiful for me, especially as I go through this 33. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Knowing yourself, mastering yourself, is true power. And that's where we're moving to.
You know, as somebody who has spent most of their professional life having to assess people very quickly in order to find solutions, I think you've got a very beautiful essence, because
Mm.
I sense people. People say I'm a very good diagnostician, and it's not that I'm a very good diagnostician. It's because I don't, the layers, because I'm always fighting against that. Layers do not matter. It's the essence of the person that
Yes.
matters. So that's why, I don't like all these likes, because
Right.
you know, I know the people uh, on my account. If you say, where did you meet these people, I can tell you where I met them, and that to me is really, really important. It's the essence, because why should you have to hustle for worthiness when the divine intelligence in you supersedes all these belief systems? Of course, I'm talking to myself. I'm not like this all the time.
Of course. Of course.
The halo is not shining all the time, or if shining at all. We just keep on polishing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself in the same way, but it's always coming back to me and how much further, I get to go, because you are a reflection of who I am in my life. When I see you,
Exactly.
when I feel from you, all of that is just me. You are
Yeah.
just showing me me, and I am just showing you you. And when I have judgments or thoughts or inclinations, like, those are all about me, for me, and I get to be here and hear myself from a different perspective. And
Ex-
that's what's so beautiful about wisdom, right? Like, to be able to connect with you and Allison and Catherine and all of the people that I get to connect with on here. They get to show me who I am. And it is so beautiful. And Mary, who came on a little bit ago, like, showing me parts of myself that are just deep and loving. And all of this is so beautiful.
well, there you are. There you are, and
And there you are.
It's reflected in your Instagram reels. I suggest everybody goes to Martin's Instagram and see if they agree with what I'm saying. It's always a pleasure. Oh, there's
Always a
Martin.
pleasure. Oh
You
man,
know,
thank you so much for coming
yeah.
on. And
I
and
just
all,
say,
it's always like, I am honored to be someone that you visit regularly and chat with. And I know you chat with a lot of people on here, but I always feel a beautiful, special connection when we get to chat.
it's very interesting, because I chat with people I feel comfortable with. And if I'm wrong, if I feel comfortable with someone and they prove me wrong, I just leave them to grace and
Yeah,
just keep my distance, because
yeah,
it shows me what is the lesson that I have here. Because it's not that they're right or wrong, but we all have different journeys. And some go one way and another person goes another way. But the thing is that to always, always be respectful of people, you know.
Yes. And
And
yourself along the way.
exactly. And if you're disrespected, just move away
That's right.
because they're taking energy from you that you could possibly give to other people. And I'm really grateful for the kind people we've met. And I try to expand gradually. But, you know, I'm also very, very grateful for the people I've met here who have been just amazing, 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 amazing. We'll chat offline, Martin. You were all
Yeah.
going to go. You were going to go off, and
Yes, I'm gonna make a little breakfast. We're gonna start our day. It's already getting on. By the time I'm done kind of with my morning routine, it's gonna be almost noon.
okay. Well, I'll let you go, and I'll send you the posters. It's on the Instagram. It's this week's
Yes, I'll yeah,
edition. Yeah.
I'll definitely run across it
Okay.
and I'll
Okay.
shoot it out there. Thank you
Okay.
so much,
Have
love.
a blessed day.
You too, dear. Oh, it's always nice to have Bella come on and then who do we get? Allison. Allison. Oh, I do want to read one with Allison. Come on, Allison. Come on, Allison. Happy Monday.
I I won't take your whole time. I just heard you're going to
No,
get on with your
please.
day, but I was like,
Yeah. No, no,
oh.
no, no, no. I'm here.
Okay, number. Let's do somewhere in the middle. 46.
46. Okay. When a country is in harmony with the Tao, the factories make trucks and tractors. When a country goes counter to the Tao, warheads are stockpiled outside the cities. There is no greater illusion than fear, no greater wrong than preparing to defend yourself, no greater misfortune than having an enemy. Whoever can see through all fear will always be safe. I love that last line, will always be safe.
Well, what's interesting is because you're safe even if you can't see through fear. You're always safe. Full stop.
Yes, but you don't see it that way.
You don't feel like you're safe, but from a universal standpoint, we're always safe.
Yeah,
Even when, because part of the challenge of being human is we feel fear and sometimes becomes blinding. And so it creates a sense of not feeling safe. But ultimately, when we can remember that even in those situations, ultimate safety is who we really are, then the fear becomes simply an experience of reflection and not all encompassing.
right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think what ends up what is the chicken or the egg here, fear or safety, right? I think there's a like when you can recognize you're truly safe. And I think many people cannot recognize they're truly safe because they're caught up in fear.
Well, it's interesting is I just like fear is a constant um there's an invitation to constantly experience and the sensation of fear. For example, like just a few seconds ago, someone had, a spammy text came through that said, you have viruses on your phone and click this link and we'll solve it, you know. So of course you look at that, the most people get a hit of adrenaline because they think, oh shit, without thinking through, okay, this is some random generated bullshit, that doesn't really have anything to do with me and has everything to do with this spammer
Right.
just sending random stuff out into the universe. There's always an opportunity to, but I posted on Instagram as using it as an analogy because it's like, it's easy to see when you receive spam like that. Oh, this is spam. This really isn't that. And it does nothing to do with me and everything to do with this person just choosing random numbers. Versus when it looks like it's personal, when it feels like it's personal, and then you get that jolt. You're like, now I'm scared because this is personal. It's actually not. It's simply
Right.
it's the same thing, only the perception is different.
Like I can. like I like becoming aware of that, right? Like you're like, oh, fear. Oh, wait. Nope. That's just some bullshit. Like it's so
Hmm.
nice to be able to just like wake up to that awareness of like, no, this is just some bullshit and I can let it go. But it's fun to fun is a kind of like I think it's fun to like have that feeling and then just kind of back off it, right? Like like, oh, it arose and it's okay that it arose. Like that's what it was built for. That's what it like that text was written in order to elicit a specific
Yes.
response. The fact
Hmm.
that your body responded to it isn't, and I think a lot of times people want to not be fooled. Like I'm too wise to be fooled, or I'm too smart to be fooled, or whatever. And but once you get fooled, and I remember this one time, like I was staying on the street in New York for a while back there in my late teens, early 20s, and I got taken a couple times while I was out there, and the shame that I had about being taken was so deep, and especially because I grew up in the city. I grew up in Chicago, and then I found myself on the streets in New York, and it was this experience that, like, when you're living on the street, you can't think clearly. There's all sorts of stuff going on, like, and and definitely like fear, and addiction was in there and all this other stuff, and it was so much like getting taken then had so much shame associated with it. And now, I don't want to be taken. And if I do, like, I get suspicious sometimes, and there's things, like so that fear is still there. And so like having a reaction to that or having an initial sort of response to that isn't a bad thing. And I really kind of enjoy when I can kind of spot my body going into that, because it's bodily. Like my whole body shifts when I have that feeling.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I love being able to recognize when an idea has stimulated a hormone, concoction that is jolted through my body, which is what
Yeah.
we call fear. I
Right.
love being able to recognize it and going, oh, isn't it interesting how I observed this thing? It
Yes.
caused me to think in a particular direction, which caused my hormones to waterfall through my body. It gave me a sensation. And because it did, I looked at that first. It gave me a little bit of a like, ooh, what? And I
Yep.
was like,
Yep.
oh, this is the one of those spammy things because it kind of takes you off guard a little bit. You're like, it sort of it feels like it inserts itself into your reality, and
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, geez, okay. But this is great because I can use it as an analogy because we can see how this has nothing to do when that stuff shows up on our phone. We know it has nothing to do with us, and we know it has everything to do with someone just randomly generating you know, stuff to people they have no idea, just random numbers to them. It's easy to see it,
Right.
but it's just,
But like it is just in the manifestation. Like your body is this like that's your playground. Like this is a place. Oh, my stomach kind of crunched up there
mm-hmm,
for a minute. It's just like, oh wait, like I can have fun just recognizing it. Like because even though like I had the last couple months for me like we're like tinged with sadness, but that doesn't mean that I'm not having fun in feeling that. I'm not wallowing in it. I'm just like, wow, like look at this body kind of react, and look at my mind going to these stories and telling these stories and doing all of this stuff around that sadness. And it's like, okay, well, like most of that is now behind me and I can kind of move on and do all that kind of stuff. But it's like during that phase, it's like there are things that are happening, like an awareness of what is going on is such a beautiful sort of like breath.
well, it's all there. Yeah, I mean, it's all there to inform us about what our active beliefs are. It's all just feelings are just a way to be more aware of what we believe to be true in the moment. And um, when my dad passed away, he was a physician, and he had trained himself to do what he perceived as hold his emotions back. Because when you're in surgery, working with patients and people who are sick, he
Mm-hmm.
was trained in the industry where you don't show emotions. You're very just robotic about it. You go about your way, this and that. He never disengaged from that. There were only two times that I can remember where I saw the breakdown of that. One was when my sister, the cops came to our house because of my sister. And I remember she had accused him of uh, being sexually molested, which he did not do that to her. And
Yeah.
she was, and then I remember seeing, I remember seeing the vulnerability in that moment. The second time was when he passed away in March. And it was a week from his transition. And it was about Wednesday. It was like a Monday to a Friday. And so it was like a Wednesday. I was on the midnight shift, and the morphine was wearing off, and he started to flail around. In what occurred to me was, this is the second time in my life I've ever seen this level of vulnerability in this person I call my father. And what came up in me was anger. And it took me a couple months to figure out I'm like, what the fuck was that about?
Mhm.
It was part of the narrative that we had written, which was he was going to be not, emotionally available, and I was going to struggle with needing exceptional vulnerability. That was our theme. That
Yeah.
was our life theme that played itself out. But if I hadn't had that emotion, which most people would say, "Oh, that's inappropriate. Your father's
Right.
dying. How dare you?"
Right.
Well, you know what? It's information. It's really, really good information that
And
tells me,
it's information about one thing, and that's you.
and that's
And
me. Exactly.
although nobody else needs to have nobody has any say about any of that information, because they don't even know how to process that information,
No.
but you do.
Yep. So even though it was a derivation of fear and I called it anger, it was
Mhm.
still really good information.
That's
So
right.
fear is in all its, all the guises it shows up in, all the masks that it wears, is always exceptional information about self.
That's
Always, always, always.
yeah. And we start looking at this 46, and it talks about a country, but as you know, and I think most of the people probably listening do, like when I talk when the Tao talks about a country, I always think about the body or the
Yeah.
family or any level of community, whether that's community of cells or community of ideas or whatever. So when a country is in harmony with the Tao, factories make trucks and tractors,
Mm-hmm.
things that are productive. And this is, when your body is in harmony with the Tao, the factory makes your factory of like hormones and stuff, make things that, you know, are help you kind of process things in your body.
Yeah, regenerative.
Right. When a country goes counter to the Tao, warheads are stockpiled outside of the cities. And this to me talks about the idea of, like uh, defenses,
Mm-hmm.
especially as it relates to fear. The next line is, there is no greater illusion than fear, no greater wrong than preparing to defend yourself. Just like we said, when your body goes counter to the Tao, you start to build defenses. No greater misfortune than having an enemy. Having something that you're trying to keep at arm's length, having something that you're not willing to embrace, even if that's fear at this moment. You embrace it, you see it, you look at it. You don't become afraid of that and then just look at the manifestation and say, this is the cause of my fear and I want to get rid of my fear. Where is this fear within me? And then I can have fun with it. Then I can be in harmony with the Tao.
Yeah, the best thing I ever learned about these words we call positive and negative, we usually attribute those to like fear is negative and
In these
love is
grand,
positive.
yeah, right. In these grand sort of toxic positive world, right? Like,
Well, there's always judgment. I mean, that's a
right.
term of judgment. It's like
That's
people say,
right.
oh, positive vibes only. And, I want these negative people out of my experience and this and that. So there's always a term of judgment when it comes to
Yep. Yep.
positive and negative. But the best thing I ever did was understand the terms um, in terms of the structure of them. Like fear is a contractive energy and love
Hmm.
is an expansive energy.
Yeah.
So, when you're feeling contracted, or when you're feeling defensive, because that's a contraction, don't come near me, get away from me, I have to
Yeah.
defend myself, you know for yourself what energy you're in. Really good information, really good to know, because you don't want to spend too much time in contraction, in separation, in isolation, on a cellular level, all the way up to, the larger level. So I always look at those, if I'm feeling defensive, if I'm like, oh, I'm funneling my consciousness through a structure, and it looks like, I'm alone. It looks like I've been attacked. It looks like, oh, look at that. Isn't that interesting? I don't want that anymore. And then
Right.
like
And that's what
that's
we talked about earlier, right? Like when you have that feeling and that contracting feeling in your stomach or your solar plexus or in your heart or,
mm-hmm,
like in your throat, when that contracts, that's interesting.
mm-hmm.
It's okay that it contracts. We don't have to make it an enemy. We can just be like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on over there?"
Yeah, we've been taught that the contraction or the feeling of fear is a bad thing. Like, think about FDR. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Like,
Right. Yeah,
actually, you
yeah.
don't. But he gave us those words and the energy of his era. Now we know better. Now we know we don't have to fear fear. It's just information.
Right. And yeah, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. And I think that it's all just so beautifully tied together in this. And so yeah, 46. Thank you.
Well, enjoy your 13-degree day.
Yes, it's a cold one. I was out already this morning and slipping and sliding everywhere.
Ah, yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah, is here in the Chicagoland area, we have a thin coat of ice over every surface that you will walk on. And so I took 2 spills yesterday in a 5 mile walk, which I'm really, really happy of because it was 5 miles, only fell twice. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially with the amount of ice that's out there. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping up. So nobody else join right now. If you do, I would probably take you, which is why I'm saying don't join. I'm Martin John. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. This is a Recover Yourself production. I talk all about recovery in many different ways, especially as it relates to what we are recovering to, because we are all recovering ourselves. Whether or not you're living under the influence of other people or other substances or behaviors, at the end, you're going to have to recover yourself. And I would love to talk to you more about that. I have workshops coming up. One is tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time. And would love for you to join me. If you are interested, shoot me a message on Instagram, DM me, or shoot me an email, martinjohn@martinjohn.com, spelled the way you see it here on Wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me. I also work with a limited number of one-on-one clients every month. So if you are on a path of recovery and looking to take that next step and really, really start to own yourself as you are right now, and start making those shifts into being who you want to be, and stop judging yourself for where you are, because you're perfect right now as you are. And I always say, don't let your definition of perfection rob you of yours. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining. Mary, Allison, Millie, and Julie, thank you. And until next time, keep recovering yourself. Bye-bye.